You know, Dr. Williams, you make an excellent point. The communities of Pinellas are so unique and wonderful. I mean, you can go to the sponge docks in Tarpon and the beach in St. Pete.
Yep.
And stop in Safety Harbor and go to a nice little art museum, or you can go down Dunedin and Main Street, or you can go to Seminole and shop.
So Standing in the Gap is about giving back. It's about showing up for people who have no one else to show up for them. I am Dr. Tonjua Williams, president of St. Petersburg College, and you are listening to Standing in the Gap. Welcome to Standing in the Gap podcast with Dr. Tonjua Williams. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with a great colleague, Dr. Cynthia Johnson, Director of Pinellas County Economic Development. Dr. Johnson.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure to come together. You're an SPC alumni.
I am.
And I'm so proud of that. Can you tell me, how'd you get here? How did you start at SPC?
Oh, wow. How did I start at SPC? Well, you know, SPC has always been a community college, a college that was accessible to everyone. Unfortunately, I didn't know anything about SPC. My friends, my two best friends growing up in high school, Amelia and Amanda Burnett, they're twins. We all graduated from high school, and Osceola, we're ready to roll. And I'm getting ready to go to work, and they called me and said, they called me Lou.
Okay. All right.
I can't believe I told somebody, my friends called me Lou. But anyway, they called and said, what you doing? I said, I'm going to work. And they was like, well, we're going to St. Pete College. And I'm like, I can't go to St. Pete College. I don't have any money. They was like, oh yeah, you're going with us to St. Pete College. And so, of course, they're my friends. I get in the car, we go to St. Pete College. Lo and behold, who would know that St. Pete College offered scholarships, grants, financial aid, assistance to pay. Being the first generation college student, I had no idea that those kinds of resources were available. And then when I went to St. Pete College, I met Miss Myrtle.
Okay, Miss Myrtle Williams.
And so Miss Myrtle was like, don't you worry, we're going to take care of you. And needless to say, long story short, I registered. I graduated from St. Pete College. I got my foundation there. And it really did inspire me to really realize that I can do this. I can be the first in my family, but I won't be the last in my family to experience what an education could provide you. So St. Pete College was my foundation for my educational experience. And today I consider myself a lifelong learner. And it all started right here at SPC.
Wow, you know, it's amazing. So many times we don't understand what community colleges can provide and how community colleges are really the great stepping stone for economic mobility in our country and beyond. And so thank you for sharing that story. As you can tell, I'm wearing my money green suit today.
And I got my blue for SPC.
All right, well then we are rhyming and vibing. I'm very happy about that. Yeah. And so you came to SPC, and after that you left and earned a master's degree. Where?
At Florida Memorial University in Miami.
Okay.
I know St. Pete College has the Ignite program that really transitions and gives students a pathway to a university system. And had the Ignite program been here, I probably would have ignited with it. But I earned my undergrad degree from Florida Memorial University, and then I went on to my Nova Southeastern in Miami because I lived there for 8 years before I came back home in 96.
Wow. So all of this being the first generation, the first one in your entire family, of a large family, not a small family, to go to college, to finish. And then, if I recall, you've been a faculty member in Pinellas County schools. You've been an administrator because you were an assistant principal, if I got it right.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
How did you get to economic development? How did you make that leap, from higher ed right over to economic development?
Well, I always believe that at the core of the economy is education. Mm-hmm. So being a school administrator with Pinellas County Schools, I had a desire to make sure that the business community and the workforce were talking to each other. And as a trainer, I wanted to make sure that we were preparing our students for the future jobs. And so I kept connecting my teachers with business. And the county administrator called me one day and said, hey, I hear you're doing some fun things. Why don't you come to the county? And I'm like, who does economic development? What is that? But needless to say, in 6 months, I met the President of the United States. I was planning an international trip. And I said, to sit back and think, they pay you to do this? To cultivate relationships? Right. I'm like, I was born for this job.
Wow.
So I have been tremendously blessed that I have had the opportunity to really put my passion to work. And that is really making a difference by merging economic development with education and entrepreneurship, all of the things that make a community vibrant. That is what gives me my energy every day. Wow. So I'm waiting to go to work because I haven't gone yet.
You haven't gone yet.
Nah.
Wow. Well, born and raised in St. Pete, ready to rock and roll, not afraid of work. All of a sudden, the position as the director of economic development becomes available.
I know.
What emotions did you go through to say, I'm going for that job? Like how did you know you wanted to just, first woman, first minority, mm-hmm. if I am correct, in this position, mm-hmm. the courage over comfort and what it took to make the decision that you're going to put your hat in the ring. What did that take?
Well, after working at the county for 20 plus years, you get focused on what you're doing and you're making a difference, you're making change, you're seeing people's lives change mm-hmm. every day. And when this opportunity came, I'm like, oh, wow. But then can I still do what I'm doing? But I said, I have worked very hard and I am committed to making sure that we have an inclusive environment where economic development is not a one-off or not a afterthought, but it is part of the culture. Mm-hmm. And so we did a national search, 5 interviews. Yep. Yep. So it wasn't a shoe-in, it was hard work. And what I did learn from St. Pete College is hard work does pay off. Indeed. And so my commitment to this community to make sure that economic mobility was available, I wanted to make sure that equitable development was something that everyone would have access to, no matter what community. Pinellas County has 24 municipalities in a very rich, unincorporated area. So it's a whole lot of relationships. It gets fun sometimes. It gets fun.
When you talk about fun and enjoying your job and making sure that while you're the first, you're not the last.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your support, your tribe. I know that the Burnett twins have played a big role in the come up, right, if you will. Mm-hmm. So when you think about all of the emotion and the fortitude, you got to have that tribe behind you, right? Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your tribe and those folks who have really stood in the gap on your behalf on making this trajectory.
Where much is given, much is required. And what I have learned is that in order to be a torch bearer, mm-hmm. you have to be willing to light others' torches. And so along the way, many have lit my torch mm-hmm. to ensure that I have the resources, the tool, the confidence, and the tenacity to stand in the gap. And so those who have stood in the gap for me, I would have to say my number one is my husband, which everybody knows I have the best husband in the entire world.
I thought I have the best. Okay, that's hers, but I got mine. Yeah.
So She has the best Mr. Williams, and I have the best Mr. Johnson.
That's right.
But my husband has really been the foundation of my confidence to do and make change. And then my family, as you noticed, as you mentioned, I have a very large family.
Yes.
I'm the youngest of 7 girls, and I have 1 brother. And with that, I learned from watching my others of what not to do. But what it did give me is the opportunity to show all of my nieces and nephews what their possibilities were. And I cannot underscore enough this community. This community has been wonderful.
Yes.
In the sense of when your authentic engagement creates an environment where people feel free to bring to you their issues, to celebrate you when you need to be celebrated, to pull you back when you need to be pulled back, and to support you when you need support. And so I have had tremendous support from this community, and I have really stood in the gap for many, but many have stood in the gap for me.
Exactly. Growing up in St. Petersburg, we both grew up in St. Pete, not far from each other as far as the community and neighborhood. Did you really ever think that you would ever be in the role you're in and making the impact that you are making to some of the most impoverished communities, those that we were born and raised in and lived in? Did you ever for once think that this is where your destination would have placed you?
Well, I always start out with it being education, but that only happened after I came to St. Pete College.
Okay.
So I always knew I would be an educator. But my biggest ability is my ability to convene folks and connect them to the right places, people, and things. And no, I never thought that I would have the awesome responsibility and the privilege to be the economic driver for this community, whereas my team and I spend our time looking for opportunities for our citizens to have a better life. And so, no, I never thought it, but it's just amazing to be in this space, and it's such a privilege to have that type of responsibility and have the confidence of the community that we can make it happen as a team.
Growing up, we have heard leaders talk about it's lonely at the top. And as a leader of Pinellas County Economic Development, are there times when you do feel it's lonely, or times when the challenge seems to be unsurmountable, that you just kind of feel like this is what, kind of being by yourself feels like? Has that ever happened? And if so, how do you address those moments?
Well, Dr. Williams, we all have peaks and valleys. We have opportunities where we do need that quiet time to be up by ourselves. We have opportunities where you've been supported, denied, encouraged, and all of those things that come with being a leader. So it is lonely at the top on occasion. But for me, I look at every valley as an opportunity to hit my next peak. And when I get to that peak, that then turns into my valley.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for what can make me better, what can make me really encouraged to change the lives of our community. And I think that when I keep my center together, and my center is, why am I doing this? And it's because of the citizens. I do what I do to be a blessing to someone else. And that's what makes those quiet times, times of reflection, times of re-energizing myself. And I would be remiss to say that there is a special sister circle.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just need someone to be a part of that circle. And so that circle has encouraged me when I'm in the valley.
Right.
And knowing that the North Star is always there, and I'm always striving for it.
Wow. Lifelong learning is something people don't think about with leadership. They think you've arrived and that's it, and you don't have to do anything. And I think that one of the most difficult things for an individual who's a leader is to feel that they don't have to learn anymore. Yeah. And you've made it clear that you're always in that learning mode. You've also made it clear that this job you can't do by yourself.
Right. No.
This is something where you're going to have to build those partnerships, those relationships, but also have that intimate sister circle that will kind of help you smooth out when things are getting a little, out of control. I think back on even my journey and found that during those valleys, I learned the most.
Yeah.
Not just about situations, but about me and about the courage to grow and the passion behind my purpose and reminding me of my why. Why yes. am I doing this, right? Mm-hmm. And so the other side of that is the areas and times that I'm the most proud. And so tell me, what are some of your most proudest moments that you like, man, I did that. I blew this one out the water. I made this happen. Even though you made it happen with others, but what are some of those moments where you like, I am most proud of this?
You're right. It is those moments in the quiet that you really get full and your purpose really starts to shine. Mm-hmm. And so if I had to think of a moment, which is...
You can give me two.
Oh, okay. I'm like, a moment. But I can think of one moment. I met a young lady who was new to this country. Oh. And met her through relationships and talked to her about the possibilities of owning her own business. And she had the desire, but just not the know-how. And we worked together while she found a real job.
Okay.
And so we worked together through the process because entrepreneurship is not done lightly. And her name is Claudia.
Okay.
And so Claudia was determined. She did all of those things you want someone to do. You give her an assignment, she turned it in. She'd get it done. She'd make it happen. She understood relationships. And so Claudia then went on to open up her restaurant. It's called the Grand Hacienda.
Okay.
And most proud because her and I went on a dream tour. And we went on 4th Street and we opened the door and the only thing in the building was dirt. Nothing but dirt. And she was like, Dr. Johnson, close your eyes. Let's just dream what it could be.
Aww.
And we dreamed what it could be. And now she is opening up, I think, her 5th restaurant here in the Tampa Bay region, wow. The Grand Hacienda.
Wow. When we think about standing in the gap, that is a prime example mm-hmm. of what standing in the gap is like. And to be able to see someone's dream come true mm-hmm. and to know that you had a part of that to show and teach. Have you ever tried to show someone something and they didn't take your advice and they're not quite where they need to be? That does happen sometimes.
Oh, like daily, like yesterday, the day before, the week before that. No, actually, sometimes the best thing that you can do is give someone information. And I am a believer that when you have information, you could be a better informed decision maker. Mm-hmm. And because I work at the county and we don't give referrals, we give resources. And by giving people information, we're hoping that they can make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Some people take it and some people don't. And what gives me peace is I know that I gave them all that I knew to be possible for them to make their choice. And so I've learned over the years that someone's failure because of their inability to recognize the information or analyze the information to help them make informed decision does not fall at my feet. Mm-hmm. The responsibility for me is to give the best that I have available at that time.
That, when you talk about making sure you give the information, You know, we have so many young people who don't quite understand what economic development is or even how it impacts them. What would you say to a young person today about what this is and the importance of it?
I would say to any young person that economic development is access and opportunity for us all. It involves everything from your quality of life, from your choice of a career or innovation. It is what makes us have the resources necessary to live this life. It includes our education, our roads, our bridges, our water system, the infrastructure by which we enjoy, this beautiful community by which many pay lots of money to come here. And I've had numerous businesses to say, you know, we have come here on vacation when I was small, and I never thought I would bring my business here, but this is the ideal place to come to play, but stay to work. So what really, drives that is that when you can help someone see what's in it for them and see how they are a part of this economy, because it doesn't work without all of us. It is not a one-sided, fix. It takes the educators, it takes the business owners, it takes the innovators, it takes the ladies and gentlemen who are at our hotels welcoming our guests that come into this community. They are valuable. So we have to value everyone's presence and make sure that they all know that this is a community for all of us.
That's, interesting, because growing up here, we didn't recognize all the beaches and things that we took for granted. I mean, I've been here all my life. You've been here all your life, except that stint that you did in Miami. What are we missing growing up and seeing and understanding that Pinellas County is a great place to live, work, learn, and play? Because I do think that maybe all communities aren't getting to see all of what Pinellas County has to offer.
Dr. Williams, you make an excellent point. The communities of Pinellas are so unique and wonderful. I mean, you can go to the sponge docks in Tarpon and the beach in St. Pete. And stop in Safety Harbor and go to a nice little art museum, or you can go down Dunedin and Main Street, or you can go to Seminole and shop. It is just such a diverse community that has something for everyone. No matter what mood you're in, you could probably find somewhere in Pinellas County. A lot of times people don't understand that we do. It's not just a tagline. We really do live in paradise. And a staycation really will. So I would encourage you to do a staycation if you are a resident here and really enjoy this environment that we all contribute to. So a staycation would really help us. I know growing up, my father used to take us to the pier every weekend. We had to go to the pier. And I saw it there. It's like, oh God, we got to go to the pier. And to Spa Beach. Spa Beach was the place that we went to the beach every weekend because my father liked to fish. But now when I take my granddaughter to the pier, and I just reminisce on the transformation of this community, it makes you proud. It makes you proud to not only be a citizen, but even prouder for me to be a part of the transformation.
That's amazing. When you talk about transformation, outside of work. So we're just going to take the work hats off.
Okay.
Because we do a lot of business together. But outside of work, tell us how you stand in the gap for the community, because I see you, we're all over the place. In not just St. Petersburg, but throughout the county, whatever the needs are in our community. What are some of the things that you're passionate about in helping stand in the gap to help people on?
What I'm really passionate about is ensuring that our students are ready to be productive citizens. And I think that starts at the very, very elementary level. I am one who believes that economic development does start in pre-K. Mm-hmm. So it's a language that we may not use, but I think we should be using that in pre-K. So I spend time with the Boys and Girls Club. Mm-hmm. I spend time with Women on the Way. Mm-hmm. I spend time with the National Forum of Black Public Administrators, where we really are cultivating minorities who want to engage in public service. And public service, I have found to be where really my passion lies. From the days of sitting in the back seat, ready to jump out the car and do Meals on Wheels every Saturday with my mom, since I can remember. I can still smell the food from Meals on Wheels. But what that taught me was the value of a kind word, the value of a kind gesture. Mm-hmm. Because some of the people we served, that was the only human interaction they had all week, was for us to just bring them a meal and a smile. Mm-hmm. And so I have learned that what brings me most joy is service.
You know, what's really interesting is I grew up receiving the very thing that Dr. Johnson is talking about giving. My family, we grew up in poverty, and it was a single parent home. And so anytime people would come by and bring us things, we were most grateful. Mm-hmm. They did not know that they were starting to build us up to be the individuals that we are today. Yeah. And so there are many youth in our community that are now young adults and can say that they are because they've engaged you in different ways. I've seen you speak in women's groups. I've seen you speak to children. I've seen you at science fairs. I've seen you all over the place. And so for me, you're more than just talking the talk, you walk the walk. And I think that's very important, because you can't tell other people to stand in a gap that they've never stood in themselves, especially if you've never done it, but you've done the work. Yeah. And so you get the last word. So what advice would you give individuals today who are interested in standing in your stilettos?
Oh, had I known you was going to mention stilettos, I would have worn my cute shoes.
Okay.
But what I would say is, to thy own self be true. And understand that there is always a why in everything that we do. And when you understand what your why is, it inspires you to be your best you. Mm-hmm. And your best you is not the one that someone else thinks of you. It's the one that you think of yourself. And my mother always told me that let your presence speak for you. So when you enter a room, you shouldn't have to announce yourself. You should allow your presence to announce who you are. And so I live my life in a humble way of letting my good works speak for who I am. And when I am given the honor and the privilege of acknowledgement, I am most grateful. But I can tell you, the most gratifying thing is that I will make a mama proud, you know. So, yeah, I'm the baby of the family. Correct, so it is dear to me to ensure that this life that I live is one that she instilled in me and my entire family, is to be one where we can be comfortable with the man in the mirror.
Right. Wow. Dr. Johnson, I understand all the good work that's being done and how SPC rocks and roll, how the county rocks and roll, but people probably want to know, what's the big deal of having a relationship between SPC? What will happen if we didn't have a relationship?
Well, you know, St. Petersburg College, as well as our other training institutions, are who create our workforce. Right. It is the relationship that we have that really talks about what are the skill sets needed for employers. One of our most sought after assets in this entire region is our workforce.
Yeah.
And it is not because we just have a great diversity of people, race, and culture, but it's because of the quality of training that they receive from institutions like St. Petersburg College. For example, we have our One Pinellas Business Alliance. Right. And the One Pinellas Business Alliance is really designed to ensure that industry has a seat at the table, along with our education partners and our community stakeholders. And together, we sit and we talk about what are those things that education needs to ensure that they're producing the right workforce with the right skill set, with the right talents that would attract employers, will help them fill those job opportunities. And so the relationship that education has with economic development, it works hand in glove. One can't do it without the other. And what I have found and what I am so privileged and appreciative of you, Dr. Williams, is that you understand economic mobility. You understand that where you start is not necessarily where you could finish. And that St. Petersburg College is really the entry to an educational experience that can take you to a doctorate degree.
Right.
It can take you to be the CEO of a company. It can take you to entrepreneurship. It can take you right into our education system and giving back to our students. So I fondly refer to the college as the county's college.
That's right.
And though you have the great name of St. Petersburg, I know that you have representation throughout this beautiful county. And it is the foundation by which economic development stands on, and that is on the talent of this community.
You know, well said. I think about the gap that we've been talking about today, and the things that you have done with One Pinellas. Those of you who have been around me or heard me speak, you will hear me say there's a gap between education and the workforce, and that we have no idea what the new jobs are, what's coming down the pike. How can we prepare the workforce for things that we have no clue of? And what Dr. Johnson has done with One Pinellas is brought the workforce together with education. So Pinellas Technical was in the room, USF was in the room, and all of these businesses along with SPC. And we had a chance to actually talk about what's the new job, what's coming down the pike, what kind of training are you looking for? And now education as a whole, when we talk about the ecosystem, we have to really look at what institutions should do what training. Right. And make sure that that training meets the need of the workforce. And so when you talk about standing in the gap, that is a huge gap that Pinellas County Economic Development has truly sought to fill. Yes. And we're very, very grateful. The other piece of our relationship that I am so fond of is as businesses who continue to seek residency here in Pinellas, consider us, we are finally brought to the table and we're a part of the selling point of why you want to move your business here, your families here. We have the #1 K through 12 system. We have a great community college and university system.
Absolutely.
And they're all in one county, like all of it in one county. Right. You can't get it any better than that. But to have Pinellas County government bring education to the table, along with workforce, is priceless. I can actually get off of my, horn about it because I've talked about it for a long time. And I think Dr. Johnson and team said, we're tired of hearing her mouth. So let's go ahead and pull this together. And we've had 2 meetings, meaningful meetings. As a matter of fact, I've had 3 meetings after the meeting from the people that I actually met at the One Pinellas. But this is why it's so critical to have these types of partnerships, because they help the community thrive and it helps our residents learn, earn, and return.
Absolutely.
Boom. Done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Cynthia Johnson, Director of Pinellas County's Economic Development, standing in the gap.